What if I told you that right now, as we speak, one of the most sacred mountains on earth is literally splitting apart? And what if this exact event was predicted over 2,500 years ago? Picture this: Jerusalem, the Golden City, sits bathed in that warm Middle Eastern sunlight. The Mount of Olives rises up like a silent guardian, covered in olive trees and thousands of white tombstones. For 3,000 years, this mountain has watched empires rise and fall, wars come and go, and generations pass by. But something strange is happening right now. Something that's got rabbis nervous, archaeologists scratching their heads, and even tough scientists looking worried. All across this sacred mountain, brand new cracks are appearing out of nowhere. We're not talking about old earthquake damage here. These are fresh fractures cutting right through the rock. Stone slabs are shifting. Gaps are opening up where solid ground used to be. And if you know what the ancient prophecies say about this place, seeing these cracks will give you goosebumps. Before we dive deep into this incredible story, hit that subscribe button right now. You're about to see how a 2,500-year-old prediction is coming true right before our eyes. Here's where it gets wild. Over 2,500 years ago, a prophet named Zechariah wrote down these exact words, and I mean exact. On that day, his feet will stand on the Mount of Olives, east of Jerusalem. The Mount of Olives will split in two from east to west, forming a great valley. Half the mountain will move north, and half will move south. Think about that for a second. This isn't some vague, poetic language. This is a precise geographical prediction. It names the exact mountain, tells us exactly which direction it will split, and even explains what will trigger this massive event. For centuries, people have read these words in synagogues and churches around the world. But today, with new cracks appearing and the ground literally moving under our feet, this ancient prophecy is starting to feel less like old scripture and more like tomorrow's breaking news. Let me tell you why this mountain is so incredibly important. The Mount of Olives isn't just any hill. It's one of the most sacred places on planet Earth. For Jewish people, this mountain represents hope itself. For over 3,000 years, kings, prophets, religious leaders, and everyday believers have chosen to be buried here. Look around. You can see over 150,000 graves covering these slopes like a sea of white stone. Every single tomb faces toward the Temple Mount, waiting for the day of resurrection. Jewish tradition teaches that when the Messiah comes, the resurrection of the dead will begin right here on this mountain. For Christians, this mountain holds some of the most powerful moments in Jesus' life. This is where he taught his followers about the end times. This is where he prayed in agony the night before his crucifixion. And this is where he ascended into heaven after his resurrection. The Bible records that angels made a promise to his disciples: "This same Jesus who has been taken from you into heaven will come back the same way you saw him go." Where did he leave from? Right here, the Mount of Olives. And according to Zechariah's prophecy, this is exactly where he'll return. Now here's something that will blow your mind. Directly across from the Mount of Olives is a gate called the Eastern Gate, also known as the Golden Gate. This is the only gate in Jerusalem's old city walls that lead straight to the Temple Mount. But here's the thing, it's been sealed shut for almost 500 years. Back in the 1500s, an Ottoman sultan named Suleiman ordered it closed. Some historians think he did this specifically to prevent the Jewish Messiah from entering the city. He even built a Muslim cemetery right in front of it, believing this would stop a priestly Messiah from passing through. But the prophecy says otherwise. Ancient texts declare that this gate will stay shut until the prince comes to enter through it. Here's where ancient prophecy meets modern science, and it's absolutely fascinating. The Mount of Olives sits directly on top of a major fault line. This fault runs from the Jordan Rift Valley right underneath Jerusalem. In recent months, geologists and surveyors in Israel have confirmed something incredible. There are visible new cracks appearing on the mountain. These aren't leftover damage from old earthquakes like the big one that hit Jerusalem in 1927. These are brand new fractures that are actively widening and shifting. One Israeli geologist recently said, "The mountain is moving in ways we haven't seen before. The shifts are subtle, but they're real." And let me tell you, when geologists start using words like unprecedented, you know something big is happening. These developments haven't gone unnoticed by the people who study this stuff for a living. Some rabbis in Jerusalem are telling their congregations that the signs of the Messiah's arrival are getting stronger. Archaeologists who've worked on this mountain for decades are privately admitting that the timing of these geological changes is pretty unsettling. One senior rabbinical scholar reportedly said in a private meeting, "The cracks aren't just in the stones. They're in the timeline of history itself. We're getting close." Even secular archaeologists, people who usually stick to pure science, are expressing concern. Dr. Gabriel Barkey, a world-renowned expert on Jerusalem's history, hasn't claimed there's a prophetic connection, but he has acknowledged that the mountain's instability is deeply connected to the city's destiny. Throughout the Bible, earthquakes mark moments when divine power breaks into our world. When God came down on Mount Sinai, the whole mountain shook violently. When Jesus died on the cross, the Bible tells us the earth shook, rocks split open, and tombs cracked apart. If the Bible is accurate about what's coming, the day Jesus returns will be marked by another earthquake. One so powerful it will split the Mount of Olives right down the middle, blast open that sealed eastern gate, and completely change the geography of Jerusalem forever. Back in the 1970s, developers tried to build a hotel on the Mount of Olives. But when geological surveys started, they had to stop the entire project. Why? Because the rock underneath was already cracked and unstable. Even back then, the warning signs were there. Now, decades later, those cracks are wider, more visible, and way more concerning to the experts. This mountain isn't just a witness to prophecy, it's actively preparing for it. So here's the million-dollar question that's got everyone talking. Could we be living in the generation that will actually see this? Mountains split apart. The prophecy is crystal clear. The fault line is scientifically real. The cracks are visible right now. And everyone from rabbis to archaeologists is starting to whisper the same question. When that day comes, and many believe it's coming soon, this valley will open up. The King will return. And the world will never, ever be the same again. Nobody knows the exact day or hour when this will happen. But the evidence keeps piling up. The ancient prophecies are still standing. The fault line is waiting underneath. The mountain is ready. And somewhere beyond the horizon of time, the King is coming. What do you think? Are we witnessing the setup for one of the most incredible events in human history? Drop your thoughts in the comments below, and don't forget to hit that notification bell so you never miss these mind-blowing connections between ancient prophecy and modern reality.